Hello everyone, my name is Dani. Welcome back to my channel, Current Chapter. I am back with the same sweater because it's chilly, it's October, and because I'm pre-filming all of this to talk about the books that I read in the month of September. So let's talk about books. In September, I read 7 books, which is not a lot comparing to my other reading months, but I wasn't listening to a lot of audiobooks because I was trying to find one specific audiobook for the M&M's for my M&M's TBR, and I couldn't find it, so I started way too many audiobooks and never finished any. So I have just 2 audiobooks and 5 physical books that I read. So let's talk about the audiobooks first. The first audiobook that I finished in September was The Vile Village by Lemony Snicket. This is, I already lost count, 7th in the series of unfortunate events. I'll make a note if I'm wrong, but I think it's the 7th one. In this installment, they are living in a village because they say it takes a village to raise a child, so they have a whole village taking care of them, basically, and it's a lot of fun. The last one before that I didn't like so much, but this one I really loved. I love the atmosphere. I love how the village is filled with ravens, and it's just very creepy, but they don't see it as a creepy thing. The setting of the book is very, very cool, and I really, really enjoyed that, so very excited to continue. And the second audiobook that I listened to was the 14th Goldfish by Jennifer L. Holm. This is a middle grade sci-fi, which is one of my M&M's challenge. I switched it up a little bit how I do the M&M's challenge because of how it went this month. Be sure to check it out because for October I'm already so much more excited about my TBR. So the 14th Goldfish is about it's about a girl whose grandfather went back to his teenage year. He became a teenager again. He's reliving his teenage years and going to school with the main character. And it's all about like that philosophical question of would you live forever if you could and just keep going back. And they discuss a lot of that. There's a lot of science involved, which I think is very cool. It is a sci-fi, but it's just like real science also involved. There are a few things in the book that I didn't like so much, especially when it came, like, they praise the nuclear bomb too much for some reason for me as a very important scientific discovery in the world, and I guess it is a very important scientific discovery, but it's a bomb. So I don't know if it was that this topic was dealt with in a way that I was satisfied. So I don't know. That was one of the things that I didn't like so much about this book. But overall, I think it teaches science very well, and I think it's a very good read for children, especially younger children. I thought it was very childish, which is okay, it's a middle grade. And I enjoyed it, but it was not one of my favorite middle grades. So the first book I finished in September, which already ate a chunk of my month to finish this, was God's Grave by J. Kristoff. This is a sequel to Nevernight, so I'm not going to talk too much about what the plot is, but we still follow Mia Corvair, which is the main character in all 3 books, and she's doing different things in this book. So the first one, she is going to assassin school to learn how to be an assassin to avenge her family who was murdered by the current government, and that's just, it's following that story. I was hoping I would love this more than I did. I loved Nevernight so much, but this one just dragged. Not a lot happened here, and it's kind of a big book, and the way he writes, I love the way he writes, but it drags the story more just because it's very flowery, so you kind of have to pay attention to what you're reading, otherwise you get lost. And that made me take a long time to finish this book. I enjoyed it, it's still 4 stars, but it's like 3 something that I bumped up to 4 stars on Goodreads. And the first one was just an amazing, complete 5 stars for me. So it's really about the plot that didn't grab my attention so much. I was hoping so much more. And yeah, I am very excited to read Dark Dawn, but I need to just get out of my system how slow this book was, and then I can venture into Dark Dawn. Then I read Recursion by Blake Crouch, the same author who wrote Dark Matter, which I loved. It was the second book I read this year, Dark Matter, and I listened to the audiobook of that, and I already mentioned it, but I started listening to the audiobook of Recursion, and it was just too complicated for me. I just couldn't get into it. I just couldn't understand everything that was going on, so I really wanted the physical book, and I got it from Book Depository, and I got this really cool UK cover, which I like more than the US cover. The physical book worked so well for me. I finally understood some of the things I couldn't grasp so much on the audiobook, so it was really great that I got this, and I loved it. This is amazing. I still prefer Dark Matter, I'll say, because I think that one was better explained. In this book, there is a disease going around called false memory syndrome, where people start remembering things that didn't happen to them. So they have this whole complete life that they don't remember, that they didn't remember before. Like they've just remembered a whole different life that I didn't live. So it's very mind-bending and it's very mind-blowing, and I really loved it, and I really, really recommend. It was almost a 5-star. There were a few things that I thought could have been solved in another way, or at least they could try to solve it in this other way, but still, I couldn't find enough reasons to give this a 4-star. So this is a 5-star. Recommend it. But read Dark Matter first. That one is perfect. And then I read Last Wish by this guy. This is the first book in the Witcher series. This is not the first novel, it's the first collection of short stories. Then after this there's another collection of short stories, and then the novels actually start. But this is really cool. I know the game, The Witcher 3, very well, so it was really awesome to read a little bit of the past of some of the characters. So I already had an involvement with their stories, which made me like this a lot. I don't know if I would love this if it wasn't for that, just because the short stories format, not all the short stories were awesome, but because I knew the characters, I was invested. So if you don't know, I don't know, maybe if you don't like short stories, maybe you won't enjoy this so much. But I do recommend that this whole universe that he created is awesome, and I can't wait to get to the novels. I already have the second book, but I haven't read it yet. I'm reading the book so I can watch the TV show, and I'm very excited for it. And my last 2 books of September were rereads, and that was Scythe and Thunderhead. These are the Brazilian editions. I read these ones before. I don't have the ones in English, although I really want to, because I already pre-ordered the Toll, and I'm going to have the Toll in hardcover in English, and then these 2 in paperback in Portuguese. So I want the pretty collection. But this series is one of my favorite series of all time. If you don't know anything about it, Scythe is a dystopia in which the world is basically perfect because we don't die anymore, there's no poverty, there's no hunger. Everything has been solved, except for overpopulation. So as we don't have natural death anymore, they created the Scythe, who kill people, just the amount of people who it's necessary to keep running the world without a problem. That's basically it. In the first book, there are 2 teenagers, Citra and Rowan, who were chosen to be apprentices to a Scythe, and whoever wins it, whoever is chosen in the end, the other one will just go back and live their lives. Of course, it doesn't happen all like that in the book, but I'm not going to go over more than that. The second one is told more in the perspective of the AI who basically governs and runs the world, and it gets really dark and very political, which is an amazing read, and I can't wait for the toll. I already pre-ordered it, and that's going to be one that I'm going to read as soon as it arrives, because it's such an easy book to read. I will say this is really easy read. The way Neil Schusterman writes, you know, if you've watched my Neil Schusterman challenge video, you know how I love his writing, and it just speaks to me so well. These are the last 2 books that I read in September. Yeah, let me know if you read any of these books already, if you've read the sequel to Witcher, if you read Dark Dawn already, if you pre-ordered The Toll also and you're very excited about this book. If you haven't, you still have time to read Scythe and Thunderhead before November when the book's released, and I highly, highly recommend so. Yeah, remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for joining me. Bye!